What's going on, Jeromes? Beautiful Sunday, beautiful day for some Q&A. Thank you, everyone who submitted questions. Periodically, we'll put it out on the community tab, but call out for Q&A, and we're going to get better at doing these. There you go. First up, Zach. What are your thoughts on the preseason? My buddy surprised me with tickets to the New England game on week 2, and I'm excited. So I always treat preseason a little bit different than everyone else. Like, I love the preseason. I know that everyone bitches and moans like, oh, preseason games, they don't matter and blah, blah, blah. It does matter. It matters for the guys trying to make this roster, bottom of the roster guys trying to put out some good tape. So I love it. Guys are fighting and clawing to keep the dream alive, trying to get onto the 53, trying to get on the practice squad, trying to catch on somewhere else. It is the quintessential it's now or never situation, right? And I love it when it works out, and just seeing guys' hats on full display. It's really good. Plus, seeing depth pieces, seeing who you can get excited about for the future, it's important, right? And of course, J.J. McCarthy's preseason game last year, I mean, that was a big time deal. Now, I'm unsure if McCarthy will be in preseason this time around. I would actually bet no, because if you play McCarthy in preseason, you have to play all the starters, specifically the first-team offensive line. You're not going to put your quarterback one out there behind the second-team offensive line. And since Darisaw may not be back, I mean, it seems a little bit dicey. So it's a chain reaction thing. And also, obviously, you're not playing Jefferson, Hockenson, you're probably not even Addison in the preseason. So it's sort of a moot point, right? And I think that the rest of the quarterbacks will get a lot of run as they sort out who's going to be quarterback 2 moving on forward. But I think it's a lot of fun. I think in person, frankly, preseason games could be a lot more fun than regular season game. Because regular season game, of course, the atmosphere, it's tense. Every single game matters. But preseason, secondary market, I mean, tickets are going to be cheap. Or if you got a buddy who's a season ticket holder, you probably get those tickets for free. And it's kind of good because you'll watch the twos play the first half, and then you got the threes and the fours coming on in later on. And you kind of treat it like a baseball game, which you don't really care about, right? So you can hang out. You can have a couple of beverages. Weather's still hot. You can wander around the concourse. There's some cool things to see around U.S. Bank Stadium. You can see like the high school football helmet collage and all that stuff. So and check out various food items, which you wouldn't have that freedom during a regular season game because you're locked in and focused, right? So almost treat it like, not like a perfect analogy, but like treat it like the state fair with a football game going on. Right, go around, check out all the the beverages, the kiosks, the bars and stuff, and just have a good time. Just hang out, super chill. All right. Next, Sean Matter. Do you see Jeff Akuda becoming an above-average safety if you were to make the switch? Also, don't know if you know, but on Isaiah Rodgers' Instagram, posted practice clips and a clip of you talking about him. Oh, nice, love Chow. Hey, it's actually kind of cool when we periodically like pop in on like players' social medias and stuff like that. It's weird where I get a lot because my wife is on TikTok like too much, like the China. They get all their information from my wife just scrolling. But occasionally, like more during the season, she'll check in on Viking stuff. Mainly, she'll just follow the Vikings wives, like Dalton Reiser's wife, Whitney, I believe. She's like a TikTok superstar, right? And occasionally she'll come across, usually not my face. She sees the face too much. But she'll hear the voice and she'll be like, I know that voice. It's kind of funny, man. Anyways, but Akuda safety, yes. I think that Akuda, he's going to exhaust every possibility of playing corner in this league, right? Because corners, they get paid more. They're more important than safeties. Well, I shouldn't say that, right? But it is what it is, right? And with Akuda, I mean, he's 6'1", he's 6'2", he's 200 pounds. He's a great open field tackler. He's fantastic facing the quarterback. And, that Achilles that he had that ended his Lions career, essentially, I mean, maybe he lost a quarter of a step. Now, he's a proud dude, but also I think this experience has humbled him versus when he came into the league as a number 3 overall pick out of the Ohio State University. So I'm rooting like hell for Jeff Akuda because I think there's a ton of talent there, but also I feel like he could make a hell of a safety if he decided to make that switch. Now, for the Vikings, obviously with Harrison, Theo, Josh Metellus, 1, 2, 3, they feel pretty good about things. But if you keep Akuda and if he plays some special teams as cornerback 5, but also he's safety 4 or 5 as a nebulous defensive back, sort of a catch-all, I think that would be perfectly fine. And I think that'd be one way for him to stick in the league. So I'm rooting for Akuda, and that could be a way for him to have some staying power in this league. Next, Scully. 2-part question. What would you do if J.J. McCarthy does the reverse Bert Favre, where he plays for the Vikings, say 15 seasons, maybe wins 15 Super Bowls, and then goes to the Jets for a season, and then to the Packers for a couple seasons? No. Just no. That's all. Plus, I feel like with the Packers, like, they're homegrown with their quarterbacks or bust, right? Yeah, not Favre coming over from the Falcons notwithstanding. I don't know. Just don't really see them go the retread route. You know what I mean? Like, they're not signing 2011 Donovan McNabb, right? Are there any players that were on the Vikings last year that are free agents right now that you think we should sign? So Hadi Ward would make sense, even though obviously the defensive line is sort of stacked. But Hadi Ward was so great as a glue guy, as a locker room guy. You know, Flores says that Hadi and Jonathan Grenard are the 2 funniest people that he's ever been around, so it's great. But, I mean, that's a crowded defensive line room. But if Ward remains a free agent, maybe some of the Vikings look at if there's attrition or whatever. Reisner could make sense as well, since he's just out there, and he doesn't sign before training camp anyway. And if the Vikings do move on from Brandel, bring back Reisner as depth, could make a lot of sense in that regard. So, yeah. I obviously would have said Ty Chandler, or not Ty Chandler, Cam Akers, except he just signed with the Saints. Whatever. We'll trade for your ass. It's coming, man. It's coming. Next, Dr. Ahmed, OG Jerome. I remember during Dennis Green's coaching time, we drafted in the first round a player from Michigan State. And during the camp, the player just quit and left the team. I was not in the U.S. at the time and was not easily found via internet. I don't know what happened and whether the Vikings were compensated or not. Also, if a player you draft just left, what happens to your draft pick? So, the latter first. If the player just leaves, you get nothing. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. And it just sort of is what it is. And so if a player just decides to leave the team or retire, you get nothing. And I know this question was brought up a lot after a very tragic passing of Kyrie Jackson. And I mean, seems a little bit callous at the time, but I mean, a lot of people ask, do the Vikings get a compensatory pick because their draft pick passed away? And the answer is obviously no, right? So, especially if a player just decides to walk away like Dimitrius Underwood did, the Vikings get nothing. And Underwood was a weird story. So the Vikings had 2 draft picks in 1999, number 11 overall because they traded Brad Johnson to Washington. They drafted Dante Culpepper at 11. Get your roll on, baby, out of Central Florida. Let's go. 29, their own pick, they took Demetrius Underwood. Now, Underwood played at Michigan State under Nick Saban. And he was this freak of nature, 6'6", 310-pound defensive end, defensive tackle, utility defensive lineman. He was going to be good. Really productive. Was it sophomore season, I want to say. But then his last season in East Lansing, there were some questions, right? And it might have been Saban. It might have just been some of the coaching staff that were telling NFL scouts straight up, do not draft him, right? But, Denny Green, I mean, he took chances on players. I mean, Randy Moss notably won. But, with Denny, his greatest strength was relating to the players, right? And, getting the best out of them. And that's what made Denny awesome, right? But Underwood practiced the first day of training camp, and then he just straight up left. The Vikings ended up waiving him, tried to claw back some of that signing bonus. But basically, Underwood, it turned out later he had mental issues. I believe he was bipolar, possibly schizophrenic. And basically he was just like, I can't be a football player and a Christian or something like that. But then the Dolphins picked him up, obviously. And then it was the Cowboys actually picked him up for the 2000 season, I want to say. He had 4 or 5 sacks, and he was in the comeback player of the year conversation. So just that makes sense. If you're a player and you get drafted by a team you don't want to be on, well, why don't you just pull out Underwood and maybe go somewhere else? Obviously, that's not what Underwood was doing. I think he legitimately had problems, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah, but it's such a weird story, And I think it gets glossed over because, the Vikings got Dante Culpepper that same draft. But, I mean, in terms of draft busts, in terms of wasted picks, I mean, Underwood has to be a 1-1. It's such a weird story. That sort of gets lost in the annals of Vikings history because we got so many damn weird stories. Next, follow your light 420. Dusting off your crystal ball. Can you give us Jerome's storylines from the first 5 games of the upcoming season? So, Monday Night Football. J.J. McCarthy outduels Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams turns the ball over 4 times. The Flores defense gets after things, and basically the Vikings declare themselves, I do declare, 1-1 in the NFC North. Falcons game, Penix versus J.J. McCarthy. I think Michael Penix Jr. has a sort of a rough go of it at U.S. Bank Stadium. The home opener, Sunday Night Football, long and strong, going to get it on, and Bijan Robinson gets bottled up. Drake London is blanketed, and also I think the run game gets loose in this game. I think Jordan Mason, formerly of Georgia Tech, so he's got Atlanta and Georgia on his mind. I think he takes it to the Falcons, as well as Aaron Jones has some nice work as a scat back out of the backfield. Bengals, you know what it is. It's going to be Justin Jefferson versus Jamar Chase. I think it's going to be a duel. I think this one ends up being a bit of a shootout. I think the Bengals actually are able to get some points on Flores and company, but Vikings come out on top, say like 37-34. It's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be great. And then the 2 overseas games, the Vikings, we're going to whoop Aaron Rodgers' ass. So the Vikings beat down Rodgers in 3 different countries. It's beautiful. O'Connell, McCarthy. What else do we have? Oh, O'Neal, Ryan Kelly, Murphy. We do it for Ireland. That's right. And then in London, Tottenham Stadium, the old stomping grounds, Vikings just biblically beat down the Browns, right? Myles Garrett gets his. I'm all about winning. Yeah, okay. Shedeur Sanders gets harassed. It gets sacked 5 times, turns the ball over 3-4 times, and the Vikings roll into the bye week at 5-0. That's what's going to happen. Lastly, Ethan Griffith, OG Jerome. If you were starting a If you were starting a high school, what mascot and team name are you going with? Even though I'm from Eden Prairie, I hate to admit, I think the Minnetonka Skippers is super unique, and I like their anchor logo. So you got to be unique, right? Because how many Wildcats can there be out there? How many Panthers? How many Eagles? How many whatever, right? But I've always thought that if your mascot was the Goats, that'd be fantastic. Or like the Feisty Goats, or the Fighting Goats, or the Fire Goats, or whatever. But you just call your team the Goats. Also, if the high school is near like a trucking hub, or trucking is a big industry in the area, that would make sense. Also, on Parents' Day, you could call it Mother Truckers Day. Plus every touchdown, meh, meh. Come on. That's pretty good. Or something random like, so haberdashery is men's clothes. I thought it used to be hats, but apparently it's men's clothes writ large. So see, this is great because the haberdashers, you call yourself the Dashers, right? The student section can dress up in suit and ties every single game, and it's going to be good to go. Basically, you're Kingsmen. Let's go from there. So that would be my 3 choices. The truckers, the haberdashers, a.k.a. the Dashers, or the Goats. I feel like that's kind of good. I feel like it's really good. Anyways, that's it. A Q&A. It's a beautiful Sunday. You guys are the best you know what to do. Skol production value.